The NFL playoffs are better with FanDuel because right now new customers can bet $5 and get $200 in bonus bets, guaranteed. That's $200 in bonus bets, win or lose. FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of the NFL. 21 plus and present in select states. First online real money wager only. $5 first deposit required. Bonus issued as non-withdrawable bonus bets which expire 7 days after receipt. Restrictions apply. See terms at sportsbook.fanduel.com. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Ampire.
Hello, babies. Hey, babies. Hey, babies. Hey, babies. Hi, everyone. Hi, everyone. As you can tell, I'm in my basement back from, this is my basement. I don't think I've ever said that. This is my basement. We're back from Tampa. Callow went. I flew with the team last night. Thank you for taking me with you. Appreciate that, team. Holy cow, man. I don't even know what to say anymore. I'm out of adjectives. If anybody would like to shoot me some suggestions, some smart people with a thesaurus would be great. That's where I need John Anderson. He used to walk around with a thesaurus. It's every week, and now it's in the playoffs, and we've advanced. First time in a very, very, very long time. It's wild.
I was going to say, I think you called it pretty well last night. Cardiac commanders turn into clutch commanders. I thought that was pretty good. That's a pretty good way to describe it. 5 straight weeks, or not 5 straight weeks, but 5 games over the last 6 weeks, right? And they've all ended on the last play of the game.
It's 5 straight weeks since
the
the
bye.
5 straight.
It is 5.
Since the bye, every game they've played has one way or another ended on the last play of the game. With I guess the exception of Philadelphia where they had to kick off, but
right, exactly.
Or Dallas, they had to kick off, but the last play from scrimmage, it's something else. I mean, it's almost not real. Like it doesn't feel real anymore. When they got the ball back, tied with 4 something left, I knew they were going to win. I just didn't know how. But I knew it. And I've never felt that way really about any team that's in close games every week. Like eventually you think it goes the wrong way. I don't have that feeling with them. And we sunk the ship, guys. Sunk the ship. I do want to start with, because there were so many Commanders fans down there. I don't know how many flew in, how many were just there. We talked about this last week, like eons ago, but it's still eons ago. The Southeast was kind of owned by Washington because there was no Carolina Panthers or Tennessee Titans. And so it would kind of stretch all the way down the Eastern Seaboard. And then, of course, Florida is where people go to retire. So there was a bazillion, Washington fans that lived on throughout the entire Eastern Seaboard, all the way down into the southern states. So every time we go to Atlanta or Carolina, I haven't been to Tennessee in a while, but Tennessee, or in the case of like Tampa, Miami, there's always, anyway, even in the bad years, a lot of Commanders fans at all of those games. I think there's a lot of like parents who turn their kids into Washington fans. And then there were a lot, apparently, like you, that actually flew down. I was walking around yesterday because these night games kill me. I have to I'm so juiced up that I need to put energy out. So I just started walking around because it's beautiful outside. And I was walking around. And I mean, they were everywhere, to the point where I'm like, are we taking over that stadium? And I will say this, the Bucs fans, because there was a large contingent of Commanders fans in the stadium, were still loud. It was a really, really, really good crowd last night.
No, 100%. I would say this, though. It was like obnoxious how many Commanders fans were there in the best way. Like, you probably were not wearing any gear, I would assume, or if you did,
I had on
something.
I had on a sweatshirt.
Okay.
Yeah. Sarah Walsh made fun of me. She's like, they're taping, because she knew the NBC camera was in our booth. She goes, "That's what you're wearing?" And I go, "I've been wearing all year."
Yeah, right. Yeah. Exactly. But I'll say this, I was traveling with, I think, 5 other people, walking around. We went to Cigar City Brewing before, and then we walked from there to the stadium, and it was people honking, people yelling out of their cars, rooting for Washington. So no, it was ridiculous in the best way. There was also a tailgate with like probably 100 people that we stopped in at as well. The fan base showed up. I will say this though, not everyone, but majority that I talked to all traveled from the DMV. Yeah. Like it actually was a lot of people that decided to come down, and that's what my plane going down was. My plane coming back this morning was. It was all Commanders fans.
It was a pretty good draw. It's warm. I mean, it was funny. All the Tampa people were like, "It's cold." I'm like, "No, it's not."
Football weather.
Like, not really, guy. It's like because we got snow that actually stuck, which never happens around here. That it sticks around. So that was a pretty good draw. Not a long flight. Wasn't going to be hard to get into that place.
Yep.
Nice place to go in January. That turned out to be a very good draw. We're actually very lucky that it didn't end up being the Rams because they would have changed the venues. That would have been really tough. Because I think, that would have been really tough for anybody who's flying out there to have to switch those plans around and all that stuff. I mean, obviously I know why, and it's horrible. And I've got family stories too. As you know, I have a lot of family out there. So I have a lot of things that are going on out there, but it ended up being a very good draw for this game to do this. This is another pretty good draw. I mean, the weather stinks up there, but it's a quick flight. I don't know how easy it's going to be to get into that place. Like, I have a feeling that's going to be a pricey ticket.
It is. It already is.
They're starved like us. So, everyone's waiting. This is a rabid crowd. That's like one side's going to be like, I can't believe this is happening. Maybe less so for Detroit because they're the 1 seed, but like they also haven't won anything in forever. So they, both sides are kind of like waiting for this to happen. It's pretty wild. On this team, I don't even know what else to say about them. I mean, this is by far, bar none and not even close, like the best season I've had covering them, being around them. There's been nothing like this. And I said this very early. I'm like, there's something very special about them. I can just tell. And this was why I was like beating the drum very early. I want them to do something at the trade deadline to help them try to get a team that can win now. Like, I know they're building this for now and in the future, like wink, wink, now and in the future. But it became evident to me by about really after the Cincinnati and Arizona games that I'm like, okay, like, and it was a little too early to like kind of go, all right, let's go try to win a Super Bowl. But I remember sitting there going, okay, like these guys, they're telling you that they are together and they're in it and all this stuff. And it was by, a few weeks after that when they had steamrolled a couple of, opponents that weren't playing very well. And then that's when I was like, okay. And I started beating the drum. Everyone was making fun of me. I'm like, listen, I've been around this stuff forever. I know it when I see it. They got it. It doesn't mean they're going to win the Super Bowl, but they got it. They have the makeup of the type of team that is very difficult to beat. And I could just see it. And they have every part that's necessary to be competitive. Do they have enough talent to overwhelm the best teams in the NFL? We're about to find out this weekend, because I don't think that that's necessarily the case. But we who love sports know that's not everything. The most talented teams don't always just win. You've got to be pulling the rope the same way. And I've never seen a team put on this uniform that pulls the rope the same way that this one does. And it's so incredible to be a part of it. I know that any future season will not be like this. This is just literally incredible. And I'm so grateful just to be part of this ride.
No, I mean, I think I'm with you. I think it was after the Bengals game where I was kind of like, let's sit back and enjoy this. Don't ask the questions of whether it's sustainable or, is this going to go wrong? Just enjoy it. And I think if you've taken that approach from that point on, how could you not absolutely fall in love with the season that they're having right now? It's unreal that we have now stepped in from a year ago looking for the new head coach of this team to having the quarterback that when they get the ball back with 4:30 left, they're going, great, they're going to salt the game away. And that they're going to do it. I mean, just it's a crazy, crazy turnaround. And it's a testament to the team chemistry that we saw in preseason. You and I talked about it in preseason, how they were going crazy for each other.
It was evident early. It was so evident early, the way they were cheering for each other. It was totally real. And then once they hit the stretch where they'd lost 3 in a row, you're going to find out what they're all about. I think they caught, what they needed at the time, right before the bye, an AFC team that was going nowhere in Washington. And they took advantage of it. I didn't know what we were going to get
Yep.
Once they did that and they proved they could be that again in a game that, quote unquote, you're supposed to win if you're a playoff team, that's when I knew, okay, this is back on. They got the bye that they needed, and it turned around with a 4-game stretch where you win probably 2, you're in. You get 3, definitively you're in. You looked at the schedule and you went, it's going to be a disappointment if they don't do that. But now we're part of fairy tale stuff. Like, when they make sports movies, they make every game end like this. That's typically not reality. That's, I think, the other part of this that's hard to I can't believe it. Like, that it's every week. When they were down by 4 going into the fourth quarter, the first thing I said out of my mouth was, they've already broken a franchise record for fourth quarter comebacks, and I think they're going to do it again. Like, it's just like, you knew it. Like, it was right there. And a major reason, and it's not all of it, is this quarterback is sensational. And this was among, again, his best performances. Here's a rookie. They didn't punt. They didn't turn the ball over. He had 300 yards passing. There are going to be numbers, again, we've doing this all year again, that are, no one's ever done this before. I started saying this by week 5, week 6. I go, this is the best rookie quarterback I've ever seen, period. I'm not being a homer. I'm just telling you, I've never seen anything like this. And he was simply sensational last night. Across the board, even late, there were 2 plays that really got me. He threw a pass to Austin Eckler on a need it down where Yaya Diaby got out in the flat and was standing in the lane and just threw a touch pass over the guy's hand to find Austin Eckler. These are in pivotal, key, gotta have it moments. He does that. And then 3rd and 1 to salt the game away, he does what he's been doing all year, which is beating Pro Bowl caliber defensive linemen when they have him dead to rights. He shakes them, gets away from them, makes the play that's necessary. And those are the ones that don't end up on highlight reels, but for me are the ones that go, this is why this guy is special. It's not just the touchdown passes. It's not just like the will and desire. All these little plays that never get shown again, those are the ones where I go, man, this guy has it. He is a unicorn. He's a one of one. When everything gets up and the stage gets bigger, his blood pressure goes down. He smiles through all of it. Something happened to his face last night. He was totally fine. He is simply the quarterback we've been looking for forever, and he's lived up to every moment of it.
Yeah, to me, it's the decision making. It's that he's a very mobile quarterback, but you and I have always said this, that he doesn't run to run the offense. He runs when he needs to, right? But what he does is he makes the decisions so fast that it's like impossible to stop. And I forget who I was listening to yesterday when I was watching highlights, and someone, maybe it was even on ESPN. They just said it's so hard to defend because they improvise so much of it because they trust whatever he's going to do on all of these plays. Like, the fact is that they don't even have to run this like perfect offense. They just need to put the ball in his hands and he's going to make the best decision. I think that's what blows my mind the most. Is it's a little sandboxy, I guess, is like what I would call it. And how do you stop that? You can't stop it.
Yeah, this does, in a very different way, it does remind me when Patrick Mahomes played his first full season in his second year after they had traded Alex Smith. Like, you were watching him going, his instincts are off the charts.
Yeah.
And, they were different because he can run, but not like this. Jaden's got the Lamar Jackson, ability to run. Pat can really run, but not like that. He's not like particularly fast, like not like that. But it was all those things where I'm watching him going, this guy's instincts are outrageous, and that's where Daniels is. Nothing's too big for him. This is a testament not only to his athletic ability, but his preparation. Like, the fact that he's pulling this stuff off. Well, one, I mean, you never know, like, when the pressure gets ramped up, that's when you find out who these guys are. And I think we found out who he is over this whole season. And now in the playoffs, he does this against a team that they didn't have as good a defense as they'd had in recent years, especially on the pass defense. But I also think that they play a style that's a little out of style, which I think is kind of why they're a little bit up and down. Like they bring a lot of pressure still. Not everybody's doing that anymore. So I think they're doing that, and their back end was beat up and was being taken advantage of by some teams. So their numbers weren't very good. Still, he's a rookie quarterback in the playoffs on the road against a team that got him the first time. They're really like one of the only teams that kind of got him. And 18 weeks later, you see the maturation of his game. This is 18 weeks later. It feels like 8 years ago. But, man, I've been saying this from day one with him. He has never looked like a rookie. And I think he's a top 5 quarterback in the league right now, period. And people were laughing when I said, I think he should be in the MVP conversation. Go watch last night. He is. He's as good as any quarterback in the NFL right now. Like he should be. He doesn't have those numbers that Allen or Jackson have. But if you just circle the word valuable when you talk about that award and tell me who's more valuable to their team than him, I'll wait for your answer on that one.
Mina Kimes made a good point on this Friday where she talked about some of these quarterbacks that are in the MVP conversation and what they've done to their team is great. But like she brought the Texans, for example, like Stroud isn't in the MVP conversation, but he was really good his rookie year, right? Well, he was really good in his rookie year, but the Texans still had some remnants of old rosters that won that division, right? Like still had some semblance of winning a little bit, right? Where you go to Washington and there was no semblance of winning for however many years it's been. And he's not only like turned them into a winning team, he's flipped them into a dangerous team that has now won 12 games, has, like I just mentioned, 5 straight games where it ends on the last play from scrimmage. Like the things that he is doing by himself to flip a franchise around, it's unprecedented. He should be in the MVP conversation, if not at least argued for.
I love that there was a carryover of this one, too, into the playoffs, because what was one of the big questions at the beginning of the year, who is wide receiver 2? Everybody said this, and they said, we're going to do it by committee. We think we have, a good enough group, deep group. And, of course, on cue, every week it's been somebody else. And then last night, and I can't even tell you how happy I am for De'Ami Brown, because this guy's worked his butt off. He has wanted opportunities for years. In the summer, I said, watch out. I think this guy is going to be the guy that kind of emerges opposite of Terry. That didn't necessarily happen again. But again, another season, he stuck with it. He's very physical on the edge. I thought he would be good in the run game. I thought he fit the profile. And then last night, he became, out of the blue, the preferred target. And this was not close, his best game in this uniform. And I was very happy for him.
No, I think De'Ami was the name that we were kicking around, all week long of like, if there was someone that was going to step up, it was going to be him. One thing to say about Brown too, is I don't think this group, this new ownership, and I shouldn't say ownership, but this front office and this new coaching staff, I don't think they had it out for any of Ron's players. But as the year has progressed here, Jamie Davis got cut. Emmanuel Forbes got cut. They've made other moves. This is a guy.
Yeah, it wasn't about Ron, by the way. Like, I don't make that narrative up. But like, they're trying to put the crosshairs on every Ron player. That's not what was going on here. Not that I wouldn't go with coincidence, but they're changing this roster on the fly. They are.
Right. And what I'm getting at though is it was a testament of Ron didn't really know how to pick players. Right. That's something it's not a secret. We've talked about a million times on this show, but it tells you, though, that they saw something in Brown, that they did keep him around and that they let him get these opportunities, that they even think that there's some talent there that has not been tapped into as well.
Yeah, no, and I'm very happy for him. Like there's for a couple of years now I've been going, this guy brings it. He brings it on special teams. He brings it in run support. And I know he's a deep threat, and I think he's got pretty good hands. So I'm like, I keep waiting for him to kind of emerge. And he turned out to be the guy. A couple of weeks ago, it was Olamide Zaccheaus out of the blue was the guy. Jamison Crowder was the guy when he got right off of IR. Like, there are very few things that they've said and preached throughout all of this that haven't come true. And again, the wide receiver 2 thing was one of the ones that got answered every single week. You just never knew who it was going to be. It's another testament to the team. They're all ready to be that guy. And when they're asked to be that guy, they are. De'Ami Brown didn't have a game like this in his entire career. Like, all of a sudden, here he was available and was outstanding for them. As for DQ and all this, so I talked to him on Friday, and one of the things he said to me, but to get ready for the broadcast, was, we're fully aware of how good they are and how much they can score. And therefore, we've basically collectively decided we're going to be bold on 3rd and 4th down. Just know that going in. And on the first drive, of course, on cue, they get a 4th down. And when they didn't make it, I was shocked because they had made every 4th down that they had made the whole year. And I went, this is when I started to actually get worried, because I was like, it's the first time they did something like that didn't really work. And then they went for 5 of them. And the one late was the one that I think I had a bigger issue with, because I never like it when you're going backwards and then you decide to put that was a full Dan Campbell move. I don't care what's happening right now. 1st and goal at the 1, 4th and goal at the 4. I think you should have got the hint on that one and just kicked the field goal and taken the points. But they didn't, and that one burned them. But they ended up going 3 for 5. Bold's not even the word for this. This is eat your heart out, Dan Campbell. We're willing to go for all this stuff too. But he pre-warned me. He said, we are going to be the word he used was bold. He goes, be aware. We're not running that punting unit out very often.
No, when this was happening, like in real time, I was like, all right, this is who they are. Like, this was a decision that we're going to live and die by this. I also did think there has to be a shade of this of they'd rather trust the offense than trust a kicker. Like, I think there's a shade of that where they're going, well, we've got this number 5 guy who's really good. Let's just trust him to get 3 yards as opposed to our 6th kicker we've had this season to kick a field goal. I think that's a huge part of this.
Yeah, 100%. So it does beg the question, who will go for more first downs, Dan Campbell or Dan Quinn?
Yeah.
What's the over-under on that one, on who goes for it more often on 4th down on Saturday?
I mean, it's probably going to be Washington, right? I think they know going in they're going to have to score a lot of points.
100%.
Like, I think
I don't think they're going to do anything nuts, like on 4th and 8 at their own 30 or anything like that.
Yeah.
But I do feel like this is a shot at Campbell to go, you want to go? We'll show you. You want to see somebody roll the dice? We'll roll the dice over here, guy.
I think are you telling me that someone is actually entering the dumpster naked? Is that what's happening here?
This is exactly what Dan Campbell wants. He has finally found somebody who will bare knuckle box him naked in a dumpster. That's us. Like, they say it every week. Anybody, anywhere, anytime. Yep. That's the party they're having up in Detroit.
Yeah.
And you know what? I'm down for it. And if that's what it is, I'll take my shirt off in the booth this week. Just kidding.
I was like, be careful what you wish for there.
Then there are some grace of God things that are happening. I do believe there is some intervention here. There are football gods. And on the 7th day, God gave Bobby Wagner that ball because the game had turned. They went for a 4th down that I don't think they should have gone for. They were going backwards. The game was so close. Take the chip shot points, call it a day. But no, they didn't. And right on cue, and I love that I said it all week, Baker Mayfield had fumbled the ball 9 times and lost 1. It's the one thing about them. He was lucky that they didn't lose the ball more during the year, and it finally bit them on just an exchange. They messed up an exchange, and Bobby Wagner, who really came to play last night, I mean, he was a physical and emotional presence. Apparently, he spoke to the team again over the weekend to get them going, and the ball just found his hands, and it was like right when we needed it. Every time something deflating happens to them, there's like an intervention that occurs, and that was it. It was a gift from God.
No, that was one where I was kind of shocked at the timing of it too. Like, it was a clutch takeaway, which we haven't gotten all year with this defense. Like, we talked about it last week. They came into this year thinking that they were going to do that and telling us they were going to do it. It's kind of the one thing that they haven't delivered on. There it was, 4th quarter, and Bobby Wagner's the one that actually gets it. It was clutch. It was clutch.
They played 18 games. They have 18 takeaways. That's one a game. Right. That's not enough. right? Now, Tampa, whose offense is outstanding. I mean, but two things went really well here. One, we killed them in time of possession. So we kept them on late second quarter before the drive where they scored to tie it. They had run 16 plays before the 2-minute warning. Like, can't beat somebody when you don't have the ball. So this was kind of a little old schooly from early in the season, with the exception of they, again, couldn't really run the ball, which is not that much of a surprise against them. That's something that Tampa's very good. Every time they tried anything on the edge, I'm like, this is just not going to work. That team really, they pursue as good as anybody on the edge, and it's hard to run on them. I thought the real spaces were in the middle of the field. I didn't think they tested it enough. And if I took one little, thing that I thought they would use a little bit more, Eckler, who, did have an impact in the game, I thought would be more impactful as a straight line, one cut runner against them, because that's the only thing I'd seen that was really working moderately in the run game. They didn't go that direction. I actually thought B-Rob was okay last night, like better than he's been the last couple of weeks. It's just hard. It's tough sledding on those guys. But this is the one thing, it's not like I would have expected double this amount, but 27 turnovers would be a very different number than 18 in 18 games. So it's the one thing that has been missing here. So we'll have to see. I've seen the replays of Zane Gonzalez rubbing his head 8,000 times before he went out to kick that kick. And I'm so glad I didn't see it in real time, because I was not nervous at all that he was going to make it. I don't know particularly why, and I really should have been. And if I had seen that, I would have gotten very PTSD'd about the whole thing too. But then it's weird, like the angle that we are in our booth, and we don't have, the mic on like the NBC does on the goalpost to actually literally hear it. We didn't hear that it hit the post. And so it felt like there was just, from our point of view, a delayed reaction to them signaling good, which is why there was a delay in me saying it's good, because we didn't hear it. So I'll be honest with you, I didn't know in real time that it hit the post. I saw this after the fact that it hit the post.
I'm not even exaggerating to you. Where I was sitting, I was on the opposite end zone behind the Commander's bench, and I didn't see it doink off. I just saw it go in because it crossed.
That's what I saw too. And I didn't understand what the delayed reaction was. Yeah. Like, we could tell if it's missed bad or not. And the way he hit it, the second he hit it, I'm like, that's good. And then the referees didn't put their arms up. And I looked at London and he looked at me and we're like, what's going on here? And then, they put the arms up. And then I didn't know in real time that it actually hit the post.
No, I didn't either. In fact, I didn't see the replay until I got back to my hotel. That I knew that it was a doink. That changed my whole perspective of it.
The interview we did with him in the locker room last night was hilarious. Because he just, he even talked about it. He was like, he talked about it. It was really good. Last thing, real quick. Thank you, NBC, for the love. I appreciate it. We knew, I told you this last week. I found out late last week that they had asked to put a camera in our booth. And they did the whole time. It was there the whole time. We were not told what they would use or when they would use it. So I had warned my family. I'm like, put on the game, pay attention, because they might come back from a break and re-air one of our calls if something happens. So I was, because they had gone through that, I had thought they would show the Brown or McLaurin touchdowns, which they didn't, obviously. And then once we had a game-winning field goal, I knew that was going to pop up somewhere. And I just want to say thanks for showing us, because that was really fun. I know we act like 12-year-olds, but we're having fun. Don't be jealous, guys. We're having fun with this team. There's nothing not fun about what's going on. And we had a blast. And I appreciate them blasting us out, because for now, the 8th time, my voice is all over the universe for 24 hours. And every person I've ever met in my life is texting me over the last 11 hours. And thank you very much for that, too.
No, it was definitely a little surreal to see Tirico throwing to your call.
I know.
Yeah, I was like, whoa, that was pretty cool yesterday. No, look, I think, I've said this before. You in London exude what this fan base is going through with these games. So I wouldn't have it any other way, the way you guys call these games.
I had a blast. It was very cool. All right, let me take a quick break. We get to some of the other playoff games next. Brand Watch the Show, ESPN 630, the Sports Captain.
This episode is brought to you by Amazon. Sometimes the most painful part of getting sick is the getting better part. Waiting on hold for an appointment, sitting in crowded waiting rooms, standing in line at the pharmacy, that's painful. Amazon One Medical and Amazon Pharmacy remove those painful parts of getting better with things like 24/7 virtual visits and prescriptions delivered to your door. Thanks to Amazon Pharmacy and Amazon One Medical, healthcare just got less painful.
Build a routine with Ollie that supports your wellness needs, like getting your daily vitamins and minerals with Ollie's multi-gummies, or keeping your mood upbeat with all the vitamin D in Hello Happy. Give your gut health some support with probiotics, and wake up feeling refreshed after taking Ollie Sleep. Do wellness on your terms. Find Ollie at a Walmart or Target near you or at ollie.com. These statements have not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration. This product is not intended to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any disease.
All right, welcome back. This is a new one for me. I haven't heard this one in a while. I didn't know anybody listened to Rex Ryan anymore, but apparently Houston heard something he said. This goes back to the old adage, and I give them credit for this. You find anything to motivate yourself. And Houston had been written off by everyone, me included. I assumed Harbaugh would go in there because they're the steadier team. Houston's been very up and down. There was a caveat, like, Houston's defense had been playing really well for the majority of the season, which is probably why their record really was what it was, that they were very steady, and they had a couple games where they were ball is life, getting turnovers. That happened the other day. But I will give them credit for, they searched long and hard to find something to motivate them, and they landed on Rex Ryan, and apparently it worked to the point of, I saw D'Amico Ryans in a post-game speech in the locker room mention it. I saw the clip that Joe Mixon put up. They used him as the motivation. So I guess whatever works, works.
I mean, to their defense, Rex Ryan said, "Oh, I didn't know the Chargers got a bye this week." I mean, that's pretty bold. Like, to write off a division winner, like, okay, and a team that won a playoff game last year, I understand why they went after Ryan on that one. That's a bold statement.
Meantime, your guy Herbert.
It's not my guy. Get out of here. Never my guy.
Everybody's guy Herbert, that everybody loves telling me how great he is, had more interceptions on Saturday than he did the entire season combined. Now, one of them wasn't his fault. It was like a dude just dropped the ball, like tipped it, he hit him right in the hands. He tipped it up in the air and it ended up going the other way. But a couple of the other ones were pretty bad. And they were pretty bad. Like, this is an average team that had a way better coach that reshaped their roster a little bit. Not great across the board. Tell me if this reminds you of anybody else around here. But they've had a quarterback who's been around the block a number of times. And this was a pretty bad performance by him. I think Houston was better than them the other day for, probably a lot of reasons, including they'd won a playoff game before. And this team really hadn't. They hadn't done that. But that was a pretty bad performance for a high-level quarterback the other day.
No, 100%. Like, Herbert's getting the money now too, so they can't afford to stack the team up as well. Like, that was the big concern when they paid him. And look, stat of the day yesterday, Jaden Daniels now officially has more playoff wins than Justin Herbert. Like, I mean, that's ridiculous. I get it. They're in a tough division, but how they haven't at least won one is pretty crazy.
Crab cakes in football. That's what Maryland does, guys. And the king goes buck wild, Han. Absolutely buck wild. He had over 100 yards rushing in the first half against Pittsburgh. They had like 200 yards rushing or something like that in the first half. They ended up with close to 3. Even Kirk Herbstreit was going after the Steelers, like, what's up with you guys? And if you'd watch down the stretch, the air was just out of that balloon. And I'm still, in the end, playing a division team, especially your arch rival in the playoffs, is a scary prospect. But that game wasn't close. One team wanted to be there and is on a mission, and the other one couldn't wait to get out of there fast enough. And it was actually sad to watch, like, because I'm with Kirk and all the others. The complaint for me I'll get to Tomlin in a second, is that is a extremely proud franchise that is known for playoff success. And I know they haven't won a Super Bowl in a long time, but they are a model of consistency. Tomlin's teams are never under 500. They're always right there. There's no off year for them. And that was, from an effort standpoint, especially in the first half, was pretty pathetic. And I was shocked to see that.
No, this was the definition of they didn't want the smoke. Like,
No.
They were already faltering down the stretch, and then they drew them. They didn't want the smoke with Henry or Lamar. And the fact that Zay Flowers didn't even play, and they were fine.
I thought that would make the game semi-close, because I'm like, all right, now I don't think Baltimore has a downfield passing game without him.
Right.
And it didn't matter, like, at all.
Yep, exactly. And so, yeah, this was honestly, it was kind of crazy to see the Steelers play like that. We're not used to seeing them kind of just fold like a house of cards like that. And look, I'm not saying Tomlin gets fired for this one, but it's starting to heat up about as much as we've seen with him. Yeah, exactly. Good transition. Yeah.
People are mad at Mike Tomlin. Like, they're really, really mad. I even saw Bill Cowher say something to the effect of, there's going to be changes, players and coaches. Everybody loves Arthur Smith. Everybody loves him. Like, I guess he's just like a dude, and everybody likes him, and everybody, I think, respects his game. But in Atlanta, it was the same thing where the offense, I don't know what it is about this system, but it doesn't really generate a lot of consistent big plays or explosive plays. And for a short stretch of time, when Russ first came in as the quarterback, he was hitting those moon balls down the field, mostly to Pickens, but to a couple of others. And, here's a pro quarterback looking for one-on-ones, elite wide receiver. They clicked for a few weeks. But on the whole, there's no kind of explosive offense, and that didn't really exist, when he was in Atlanta either. And every time I watch his offenses, I think this is really more suited for almost a zone read, option-y type running quarterback, offense. So I think it was like a mismatch once they put Russ in there. Russ also clearly can't motivate, like his teammates. I think he's a good player, but he's clearly no longer a great player. And, his reputation precedes himself with, I think, whatever it is, he clearly doesn't generate the get behind me guys and go Braveheart down the hill. Like, it doesn't happen with him. And so now they're mad at Tomlin, and I don't know which way this is going to go. He might survive and he might not. And I bet the other teams who are, if they're going to be just a touch patient, they might want to wait a minute to see if he's available, because he will get a job tomorrow, and you know what? Maybe it is time. He's been there a long time. It got real bad at the end of this year. They haven't won a playoff game in a long time. I don't know. I love him. I think he's a fantastic Hall of Fame coach. He will have a job tomorrow if he wants it. But that was rough to watch. I respect him. I respect their program. I was shocked to see how kind of non-competitive they were in a playoff game against their arch rival. It was a real bad look.
No, it's a bad look. And I think this one is screaming towards both parties need a change of scenery.
I think so.
And I think this is one where, too, like, if you're the Steelers, you shouldn't feel like this crazy pressure to keep him just to keep him. Like, sometimes you do just need a change up. I think he needs a change up too, So that's where I'm looking at it. The other thing with Tomlin that's funny is he's got a little bit of Rivera in him in terms of the national media loves him. So he gets all of the love and not a lot of the pressure. And now it's finally starting to seep out that it's like, hey, people in Pittsburgh, they're big mad. They're pissed off and they want him gone. And now the fact that is now starting to seep out a little bit tells you they're at least thinking about this in the long run.
I think they are. I think they have to be. All right. On Sunday, Buffalo was methodical. This one felt like the chalkiest to me. I know there were some people trying to make a case like, oh, watch out, Bo Nix and them. And I'm like, I don't know, man. Rookie quarterback on the road there. It's different than what we had. I mean, Tampa's a very good team. Tampa hasn't been on the cusp for a number of years of being in the Super Bowl with And I think Baker's outstanding and is a very, very high level quarterback, but there's a difference between him and a Josh Allen when you play them in the playoffs. And so this was set up for what I thought would happen. The game was closer than the stats said at halftime, and then it got away from them. And we get Buffalo-Baltimore this weekend, which ought to be a doozy.
No, that's going to be awesome. To the Broncos point too, the Broncos were too up and down for me to think that they were actually.
Yeah, I didn't think that. I didn't like them at all this weekend.
And
yeah.
Don't get me wrong, Nix and Peyton had some good moments this year. Like they actually, like
they did.
I think they outperformed what they should have done this season.
100%.
There's nothing wrong with that, but everyone that was going, oh, they might have some trouble with this, I was not picking up what they were putting down, mainly because Buffalo's a buzzsaw. The Broncos were too inconsistent this year.
The other one I'm not surprised by, Philly really came to hit. That was a body bag game with Green Bay. Green Bay came in kind of beat up. I will give them credit because they were getting tagged by these dudes early. They hung in there, just couldn't make enough plays, but they put a good scare into them. So I think that they did the best they could based on how they were coming in. I thought Philadelphia was going to roll them. And the score, I guess, semi looks like that. But I thought it was going to be ugly, like 31-10, something like that. And so they hung in there, but I'm not surprised by this result at all. Green Bay was going the wrong way. They had lost the big high leverage games. And Philadelphia, this was not the one they were going to go out. We'll see next week with whoever they get.
The fact that crowd booed them just because they were only up by 10.
Yeah. I don't get it. They've lost once in 3 months.
It's so ridiculous.
Guys,
and it's a playoff
you're
game.
willing them to lose. I don't we're trying to will our team to win. They're at the point where they're willing their team to lose. I don't know what you don't like about a team that's lost once in 3 months.
And not only that, how this works, not in just football, but all sports. Playoff games are tight. It doesn't matter the seedings. The fact that they were up by 10,
of course,
not worth booing over. Could you feel it being tense and, cheer a little louder? Sure. But booing during a playoff game? Ridiculous.
They played a team that was in the playoffs a year ago and advanced.
That's right. Exactly.
The other thing that came out, of course, was this inner excellence by A.J. Brown. And I think this is part of the reason why their fans are so weird with them. They do weird stuff.
Yep.
It's not funny, really. I think it is if everything's going really well and everybody's kind of on the same page about the joke. But then when nobody is, and then there he is reading some self-help book, on the sideline to obviously he doesn't know they're going to see this on camera. Of course, He's doing it on purpose. It's wow, man. It actually is surprising they win as much as they do, considering the antics that they pull, which is probably why the Eagles fans are we know this isn't going to end well. We don't know when, but we know it's not.
They're more hateable than ever. Just the way that they act, the way that they handle themselves, your boy Sirianni, they are more hateable than ever.
Yeah. But they won, and they wait for the winner of tonight, which we'll get to next. Bram wants to show ESPN 630, the Sports Capital. All right, welcome back. How about Mike Vrabel? Got the New England job. I always find this really interesting. So the media is killing them because it was obvious where it was going to go. This is who they wanted to hire. And because of the rules and hiring practices in the NFL, they had to go through a ruse sham interview process to get to this point, which I think benefits nobody, just nobody. So they're just getting hit over the head with, you brought in 2 minority candidates to check off a box. True. Now, in fairness, they just had a minority head coach, which seems to be forgotten when they do these conversations, which you're kind of leaning into the see, wink, wink. I told you about those guys and the rest of them. And I'm like, well, you may not like that they fired the minority head coach, but he was the handpicked choice of the owner a year ago. So I don't know why they get no credit for that, but whatever. That's where we are. And then secondarily, I'll just say this. He's a Ring of Fame member of the team who happens to already have been a head coach and was a 1 seed with Ryan Tannehill as his quarterback as of a few years ago. He is more than qualified to get this job, and you know it. So all the hand-wringing of the way they got around to it, and yet ended up with the person that was the most logical person to put into that spot again. I don't know. Like, they didn't take a chance on somebody. They took somebody they know, been in their system, was a hero of their organization, is in the Ring of Fame, might have a mild Hall of Fame candidacy, was a really good, successful head coach in a place that doesn't traditionally win, and you're finding ways to have fault with him getting that job. Guys, I think there's got to be a better way. That's all.
No, I think there are definitely some cases like this one where it's going, do you really need to question this one? I think there are certain cases where you shouldn't have to jump through all the hoops if you have a situation like this one where all the accolades are there. Ring of Fame player, former player, won all the Super Bowls, was a player that was remembered, right? Not like it was some backup or whatever. And as you said, was a head coach already somewhere where they aren't usually successful. So yeah, I'm with you. Like, everyone kind of knew where this is going.
Yeah, I think so. Let's see. Do you want to give everybody your OV stat of the day in connection to the Commanders getting a playoff win for the first time in nearly 20 years?
Sure. If you haven't seen it on Twitter, it's gone viral. I had this one in the chamber.
Not like my viral, buddy.
I had this one in the chamber for a while. For like literally years, for whenever it was going to happen. Alex Ovechkin's rookie season was 05-06 off of when he got drafted. January 6th, 2006, he scored his 25th goal of his rookie campaign. January 7th, 2006 is when the Redskins beat the Buccaneers for the playoff win in that season, right? So the Commanders beat the Buccaneers yesterday. Ovechkin scored goal 20 against Nashville the other night, empty netter, whatever. Alex Ovechkin, in between Washington playoff wins for this franchise, scored 848 goals.
Oh, man.
And you can unpack that a million different ways. Washington football's non-success, Ovechkin's consistency, the sheer amount of games he played in between. I'm getting a ton of, reaction. And I think somebody put it best. They said, well, when your football team is terrible, what better way to pass the time than have somebody go for a all-time goals record against Wayne Gretzky while they get good? So that's pretty much where I landed.
I give you a golf clap for that one. Very good. All right, let's see. Last thing, we got Vikings-Rams tonight in Arizona because of the wildfires in Los Angeles. I think that matters that the venue got changed. I don't know what the crowd makeup's going to be. I have a feeling it's going to be a ton of Vikings fans now. I think it's going to feel like a Vikings home game now. I'd be surprised if it doesn't. This is a tough one because, sometimes you get they'll play for the city. I don't think you know what's going on with them. I think Chargers too. I would bet there was a lot going on in their lives before that game against Houston. Rams similarly. I mean, it's almost impossible to think that a lot of people who work for that organization haven't been completely affected or hopefully haven't lost their homes or things like that. Their city's been turned upside down in a dystopian, horrific manner. So because of all that, and I hate using that as a quote unquote excuse, I do think Minnesota is going to win tonight. I think they're the better team anyway. So and if anyone knows McVay, it's that coach. So the Vikings have been a better team all year. I think it's a crime that they are a road team in any playoff game because of the season they had. I did see that the competition committee is going to take up, do we reseed differently next year? This prime case of how you could have a 14-win team as a road team in the playoffs is utterly ridiculous. So I have a feeling that's going to change down the road. Give me Minnesota tonight to win.
I thought Minnesota was honestly going to win no matter what. Like, you and I both talked about how a 14-win team was going to have to play this Rams team. I thought they were going to win regardless. So yeah, give me Minnesota tonight.
Yep. All right. I'm going to go try to sleep.
Same.
Because I am really tired.
Me too.
And we got a short week to take on Naked Dan Campbell next week. So got a lot to do. Need to catch up on the shut eye. And we'll talk to you tomorrow. Bram watch the show. ESPN 630, the Sports Capital.